I am nearly 27 years old and today I am moving back in with my parents.
I just got another rent increase.
Australia is bloody cooked.
Rent increase keeps going up.
If people are working harder than ever and they still can't afford a house,
We now live in a society where it's becoming quite normal for children to have experienced some form of homelessness before they finish primary school.
Day one being homeless in Australia.
The lucky country where hard work meant security and owning a home was the cornerstone of life. But today, that promise is collapsing. The housing market is broken, rent is spiraling, and by 2026, millions of Australians face the terrifying prospect of homelessness. Buying a home has become impossible. Prices climb faster than wages, deposits are out of reach, and mortgages feel like shackles that last a lifetime. For younger generations, ownership isn't delayed, it's erased. And renting, it's no longer a safety net. Rent consumes half of every paycheck, landlords raise prices to match the market, and tenants are left scrambling for shelter that barely qualifies as livable. Families are being pushed out of suburbs they've called home for decades. Students are crammed into overcrowded share houses. Pensioners are quietly packing up because they can't keep up with market value. This isn't just a housing crisis, it's a homelessness crisis in slow motion. A nation where shelter is treated like a commodity, not a right. A nation where by 2026, ordinary Australians will be forced onto the margins, not because they failed, but because the system did. The question isn't if Australians will be homeless. The question is how many? And the answer is growing every day.
I now know why I was in such a panic yesterday. The rental home has been ripped from our hands. This market is so unforgiving.
It's day 38 living in my car, and lately I've been just missing having somewhere safe that you know is safe to be, because I've been reminded that it's not safe to live in a car all the time. You know, the other night some dude set a car on fire next to me. A few years ago when I was doing this, I had my car almost stolen off me at nighttime, and in the morning, 2 times it almost happened. But I guess I'm just grateful I'm in a nice neighborhood and that hasn't happened again. So yeah, we're going strong. We're going strong. And apart from that, sleeping in the passenger seat of a car, it's not that bad. There is a difference between a bed and a car seat, but at the end of the day, I wake up and I go to work, and it doesn't really change much. As long as I can shower and wash my clothes, there's honestly not much of a difference apart from just having a safe place to sleep. So yeah, but I have been thinking about it lately. Anyway, it's day 38. Going strong.
Shit rentals of Melbourne. I don't know why y'all are saying there's a fucking housing crisis. We actually have a water feature in ours. Beautiful. Love. Want to know what this random shiny silver thing is? It's a hole in the bathroom wall that hasn't been fixed for the past 9 months. Oh yeah, look at that. So when you have a shower, you can have a nice little hole to put your possessions in. Not to mention, the back gate doesn't lock properly, so we have to climb over it. And how much do I pay per month? $1,200. $1,200.
My rent is going up $700 a fortnight. Tell me if you think it's worth it. Water damage? I found some mold under the couch. We have a loose floorboard. A fridge, which has a hole underneath. We've had to put cardboard to cover it up. The walls are cooked.
Homeless people are different in Australia. I'm a Canadian who's lived in Australia for 8 months now, and I'm not saying that all homeless people in Australia are like this or do this, but this is just a crazy thing that happened to me today. I was just walking down the CBD, and this guy approached me, and he just asked me if I had any change on me. I have my debit card, that's it. Do you know what the homeless guy did? He full on whips out an FPOS machine. I'm talking Visa, MasterCard, you name it, he collects it. I'm just curious, is this like a regular or normal occurrence, or am I just crazy? Let me know if this is normal.
We now live in a society where it's becoming quite normal for children to have experienced some form of homelessness before they finish primary school in this country, in Australia, where we have said that access to housing should be a guaranteed human right. That's something that we've said. Access to housing, we believe that's a human right we should guarantee. And there's a growing number of Australian children who experience homelessness every year. But don't worry, your property's probably increased dramatically in value as a result of all of these unhoused kids. So a winner for the commodification of housing.
Hey everyone, so just popping up to say, I'm in my mum's little unit at the moment, just sitting down. I've got a parcel coming today, so I'm waiting for that. This week I'm posting as much as, like, pretty much everything. I'm using mum's, she's only got like a little 1-bedroom container home, so there's no room for me and the girls. But we're just couch surfing where we can. But I am okay. But yeah, we're just going with the flow with it all. We've got crystals coming today. I'm posting everyone's orders out, so they'll be all posted out by Tuesday at the latest. And then next week I might start doing some small lives with some new stock, and we'll go from there. Bye.
Australia's rental crisis isn't just bad, it's basically permanent. And no, that's not an exaggeration. According to Core Logic, Aussies are now paying a record chunk of their income just to keep a roof over their heads. Rents have exploded literally up to 50% since the pandemic, and developers are saying the pain has barely started. In fact, some developers have stated that this crisis could last another 15 years, even if the government comes in and tries to fix it tomorrow, which, spoiler alert, they won't. And why? It's literally simple economics. Vacancy rates are around 1%. Construction is the lowest it has been in a decade, and population growth is off the charts. 188,000 new immigrants arrived in just the last 3 months. International students and graduate visas are at a record high, all while the housing market is still crumbling. But here's the thing, this might not just be poor planning, this could be political. The Labor government has every incentive to keep immigration high. And why is that? It's because the biggest immigrant voting bloc, Indian Australians, overwhelmingly vote for the Labor Party. So don't expect Albo's government to moderate anything. They're not going to fix the rental crisis. They are literally fueling it. Because to them, immigration is a vote bank. But for you, it's skyrocketing rent, packed inspections, and no way out. This isn't just mismanagement, this is political choice. And unless we speak up, this rental crisis won't just continue, it will define a generation.
I am nearly 27 years old, and today I am moving back in with my parents. This is not the plan I had for 27-year-old me, but that is just how bad the rental crisis is at the moment. I've been living on my own for the last 3 years. When I first started living on my own, I was paying $280 a week in rent. It was actually kind of fine to pay rent on my own, and I've never had like an outstanding salary. The reason why I'm moving back in with my parents is because my landlord wanted to increase my rent now to $450 a week. Now, I live in a small 1-bedroom apartment in an old building. It's nothing flash. Sure, I live in a good suburb. I live in Malvern. I'm probably just paying for location, but I have to pay to do my laundry. There's cracks in the walls. Like, it's nothing flashy. Like, it's not worth $450 a week. That's like $2,000 a month. What are people supposed to do? I'm so lucky and I'm so grateful that I can move back in with my parents, but not everyone can do that. So what's your alternative? like you're homeless. The thing that really grinds my gears is that I am 99% sure that my landlord does not have a mortgage on this place, so that can't even be an excuse for landlords on here. She's owned this place since about 1980, and I know for a fact she has 2 investment properties. So she's just making money off what she can from the market. And I was like, there is no way I can afford this. And I have been an outstanding tenant, like outstanding. Rent's never been late. My inspections are always absolutely spotless. I've never caused any issues. And this is why my generation can't get ahead, why we can't buy houses. Like, I've been paying 20 grand a year in rent. But if I went to go get a house loan, they wouldn't see that as, oh, she can pay 20 grand a year. No, I have no savings because of how much I've been paying in rent and bills. That's why my parents were like, move home, save that money and try and get ahead. Like, I'm so grateful. I love my family, and I don't have any issues moving back home with them. I do have an issue with the fact that they live over the other side of Geelong, and I'm still going to be traveling to Melbourne for work. So that's going to be so much fun. But what do people do? I'm so lucky I have such a great family that I can move back in with. But what's the alternative? Homelessness? Like, the government really needs to get on top of this, because honestly, the state of the rental market at the moment is absolutely fucked.
Owning a home in Australia has stopped being a milestone of adulthood. It has become a fantasy reserved for the wealthy. House prices climb faster than wages, deposits are out of reach, and mortgages feel like shackles that last a lifetime. For younger generations, the numbers don't add up. Not now, not ever. The so-called Great Australian Dream has collapsed into a nightmare. Parents who once promised their children stability now admit it's impossible. Young couples calculate endlessly, only to realise they'll never save enough. Even professionals with steady jobs are locked out, watching property investors scoop up homes while ordinary families are pushed aside. This isn't just a housing market, it's a rigged game, a system that rewards speculation and punishes survival. And the result is simple. By 2026, home ownership will no longer be a dream deferred. It will be a dream erased.
Yeah, this comment is absolutely right. Australia is bloody cooked. And then you've got the government saying productivity is down. No shit, productivity is down. If people are working harder than ever, and most people I know, they're working their full-time job, they've got a couple of side hustles, and they still can't afford a house, they still can't have a future for themselves or for their kids, no wonder productivity is down. We have a serious problem when people who are university qualified, and I'm talking like engineers, doctors, lawyers, healthcare professionals, teachers, people who are in really high demand, these people can't afford to live where they are required to work. That is a serious issue. No wonder productivity is down. I think a lot of young Australians are in this position now where they're like, what's the point? I did everything that I was required to do, all these things that were promised to me for following the right path that was set for me and doing the right thing by society. It's actually not bringing me any happiness. It's not giving me the things I was promised. So what's the point? What am I doing? What are we doing? What's everyone doing? Because at this point, I'm working my ass off to rent my landlord's fuck-ass small mold-infested studio, and I don't know, is it bad to want a little bit more for my life? Is it bad to want to go travel and see the world and do what makes me happy? I don't know.
We'll start with your name.
My name's David. I used to come to Shepparton when I was a little kid here. I was a track rider at Tatura racetrack. I got married at 23-year-old, and then I was having a baby, and we were living on my property out at the pepper mill, and we were living in the shed. And when we got married, we were having a baby. My wife was having a baby. Well, to cut the story short, she passed away, and the baby brought that on. And that was on the 5th of March, 93. And she's buried out here at Pine Lodge, her and my son. And God love the lady. When we were down in Monash Hospital, I heard the surgeon say to her parents, my parents, well, if she didn't have the kid, she'd be still alive. Well, when I heard that, I buried him, and I haven't come back for 30-odd years. And I've been punishing myself for too long because I thought I killed my wife. Yeah, it's hard to... I've never been on housing list. I've been to jail and all that. Not for bad things. I lost my mum and dad, my sister, while I was during my incarceration. And things are still tough for me these days, but I need to speak to people, but I don't let it out. I go deeper into the forest when I need help or something. I can help people, but I can't help myself. So I'm homeless because I have some psychological things that I need to get off my chest, and a job would help me, and some ID to get my license and all that. You know, get things going, and a job maybe so that they could look at a resume and on a housing or a flat would be a lot helpful. So that's all I have to say for the moment. And I've got my brother down with me now, and he ain't too well. And yeah, we've got some issues with his illness, but we're getting there. We're getting there with these men here that are helping me.
How else can people help you?
Well, really, I need to help ourselves. We need to go and see people like you. Housing. I've never done that. I've never had a bill in my life. When I lost my mum and dad, wife and son, I just buried myself away from everyone. I can't talk to people. I get scared and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, I've got to help myself too.
Thank you for sharing your story today.
You're welcome.
This guy is helping people squat in vacant houses, and some people are not happy about it.
Any rich people who live in a rich suburb and land banking, just remember to change the lock.
Jordan Vanderberg has been dropping the addresses of Australian homes that are allegedly sitting empty, and he's got a lot of attention even internationally.
Rich people are just hoarding land and not even using it. It's an incentive for people to either do something with their property or for the government to do something.
He says squatting isn't something to be ashamed of, and that he's had more than 600 addresses sent in so far that he plans to share with people. This is one of the houses on his radar that used to have tenants, but he says is now sitting empty after the landlord refused to upkeep it. The flip side of all of this has come from lots of concerned homeowners, people who are worried about owner-squatter confrontations, and others saying it's better to focus on policy rather than encouraging squatting. Things like higher taxes on properties that have been left sitting for years. In terms of how legal squatting actually is, it's a bit of a grey area. You might have heard of adverse possession or squatting laws, where someone can legally claim ownership of a house after years of caring for it. But Dr. Wienert says several elements are needed there, and it's more likely that a person could be charged with something like trespassing.
Unless you have a lawful justification or excuse to be there, you are risking arrest and being charged, and in the worst case scenario, they could be imprisoned.
Jordan says most owners of the homes he's talking about wouldn't even notice someone was in there.
There are people who are living on the street now. While we're focusing on policy, what do you tell them?
Victoria's shadow housing minister has said homes may be vacant for several valid reasons, and that some landlords can't afford to get their houses up to scratch.
For Mr. Vanderberg to encourage people to enter empty homes is grossly unfair, and in some cases could be terribly distressing.
I just got another rent increase. I'm so angry. It makes no sense. It doesn't make sense. What am I paying for? The house has actually probably gotten worse. When I first moved in here, when was it? I can't even remember now. Like just during COVID. I can't remember. But anyway, when I first moved in, this place was $640 a fortnight. Want to guess what it is now? $860 a fortnight is what I'm now going to be paying. For what? For what?
So if you can't buy, you rent. But renting isn't relief, it's punishment. Rent consumes half of every paycheck. Lease renewals arrive like threats. Landlords raise prices to match the market, while tenants are told to be grateful for mouldy walls, broken heaters, and inspections that feel like invasions. Families are being forced out of suburbs they've lived in for decades. Students are crammed into overcrowded share houses, pretending it's temporary. Pensioners are quietly packing up because they can't keep up with market value. And when rent rises faster than wages, the outcome is inevitable: homelessness. By 2026, thousands of Australians will be pushed onto the margins, not because they failed, but because the system did. Because rent has stopped being a stepping stone and has become a trap that drains income, erodes dignity, and leaves people with nothing to show for their struggle.
We've got a big problem here in Australia, and I don't know where in the world you are, but in Australia, this has become a really, really big problem. Now, you mightn't currently own your own home. I know I certainly don't. and the rent increase keeps going up. This year alone, we've had another rent increase and it jumped by $40. That's $40 a week. So that's $80 a fortnight. That is $160 extra a month that we have to come up with. Now, I don't know about you and what you currently pay in rent, but I can tell you right now that when the rent crisis is at a situation where it is more than 52% of 100% of your income, we're in a bit of a financial strife. We really are in this country. There are that many people that are homeless. We live on the beautiful South Coast. We have a Rotary Park not far from here. And there are currently, that I know of, over 14 different people living in this Rotary Park. These are everyday average people just like you and I, who either one, have lost their homes, they can't get housing. I mean, did you know that even, this is how sad it's gotten here in Australia, that it is so sad that now when you go online looking for a place to rent, not only one is it absolutely nearly impossible to actually get a place to rent, but when you do, and it might say in the ad that it's $500 a week, $450 a week, $600 a week, whatever it might be, you're actually in competition with somebody who's got more money than you to offer for a weekly rent. It's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. So if I'm going to go and apply for another place to live at, and it says $450 on that advert, I'm expecting it's going to be $450, but I'm going to get outbidded on the quiet, mind you, on the quiet by somebody who can offer $600. They're going to get that place over myself. Now, that is a huge problem that we have here in Australia. And I'm just thankful that I've started digital marketing last year. I have been in the online space before, but I can tell you now that if digital marketing wasn't here, I can see that it would be very difficult for many. So if you're looking for a financial income online to earn a little bit of extra cash, then digital marketing can do that for you. I mean, if you could earn an extra $100 a week or an extra $100 a month, wouldn't that help? Like right now, I currently know that by us paying an extra $40 a week, that's $80 a fortnight extra. It's $160 a month. I don't see the pays going up $160 extra in your pay packet. If you're working a 9-to-5 job, are you getting supplemented from your workplace because, you know, the shopping's gone up, because your rent has increased? I doubt it. So you need to find that extra cash. Yeah, the problem with that also is that if you go out and get a second job, you're going to get taxed twice as much. But you can learn digital marketing. You can start your own online business, and who knows where it could take you 1 year from now. You could be working full-time on your own business and you don't have that 9-to-5 job to rely on. It's just food for thought, people. But yeah, I just needed to get that off my chest because I just can't believe how outrageous it really is here in Australia right now with the rent increases. It's disgusting.
I'm 35 years old. I'm sleeping on a mattress on the floor at my friend's place because it's impossible to get a rental or it's way too expensive. And my only options are sleep in my car, sleep on the floor at my friend's house, or try and find a room in a share house if I can afford it, if there's any available. Knowing my luck, I'll end up with some fucking weirdos. How are those my only options? How are those the only options of many Australians right now? Before anyone says, you're 35, why don't you own a house? I did own a house in my 20s. I owned a house with my ex for 6 years. We bought at a good time in 2012. Then we split. He paid me out. It wasn't enough to then go and buy another property. So I think I'm just going to have to start applying for rentals, like 1-bedroom apartments. I don't mind living in a tiny 1-bedroom apartment, but having to pay $500 a week is fucked. I earn an average wage, but I can't afford that.
So here we are. The housing and rental crisis in Australia isn't just a policy failure. It isn't just an economic downturn. It is a slow motion collapse of dignity, stability, and hope. And by 2026, the trajectory is clear. Homelessness will no longer be a marginal issue. It will be a national reality. Because let's be honest, this isn't just about houses, it's about survival. It's about the right to shelter. It's about the quiet humiliation of knowing that even with full-time work, even with endless effort, even with sacrifice, ordinary Australians are being pushed to the margins. The housing market has stopped being a ladder. It has become a wall that ordinary Australians cannot climb. Prices rise faster than wages. Deposits are impossible. Mortgages feel like shackles that last a lifetime. And for younger generations, the numbers don't add up. Not now, not ever. The so-called Great Australian Dream has collapsed into a nightmare. Parents who once promised their children stability now admit it's impossible. Young couples calculate endlessly, only to realise they'll never save enough. Even professionals with steady jobs are locked out, watching property investors scoop up homes while ordinary families are pushed aside. This isn't just a housing market, it's a rigged game, a system that rewards speculation and punishes survival. And the result is simple. By 2026, home ownership will no longer be a dream deferred. It will be a dream erased. So if you can't buy, you rent. But renting isn't relief, it's punishment. Rent consumes half of every paycheck. Lease renewals arrive like threats. Landlords raise prices to match the market, while tenants are told to be grateful for mouldy walls, broken heaters, and inspections that feel like invasions. Families are being forced out of suburbs they've lived in for decades. Students are crammed into overcrowded share houses, pretending it's temporary. Pensioners are quietly packing up because they can't keep up with market value. And when rent rises faster than wages, the outcome is inevitable. Homelessness. By 2026, thousands of Australians will be pushed onto the margins, not because they failed, but because the system did. Because rent has stopped being a stepping stone and has become a trap that drains income, erodes dignity, and leaves people with nothing to show for their struggle. Behind every eviction notice is a story. A family forced to move out of the suburb they've lived in for decades. A single parent working 2 jobs, still unable to keep up. A student living in a share house with 6 others pretending it's temporary. A pensioner quietly packing up because the landlord wants market value. These aren't isolated struggles, they're everywhere. They're daily, they're the quiet crisis no one wants to name. And the human cost is devastating. Relationships strained, communities fractured, mental health collapsing. People living in cars, in tents, in motels, while landlords expand portfolios and politicians give speeches about resilience. And yet, the government pretends this is fine. They call it market forces. They say it's challenging. They frame it as global pressures. But it's not global when rent doubles in a year. It's not temporary when families are forced out of their homes. It's not resilience when people are living in cars. They'll say Australians are resilient, that they're adaptable, that they're resourceful, but resilience isn't a policy. Adaptability isn't a solution. Resourcefulness isn't a safety net. These are survival mechanisms, and survival shouldn't be the baseline in a wealthy nation. The truth is simple. The government knows. They know the rent is too high. They know the wages are too low. They know the housing market is broken, but they're not fixing it because they're not feeling it, because they benefit from it, because they own the homes. They sit on the boards. They write the policies. They cash the checks. Australia sells itself as paradise, beaches, sunshine, opportunity, stability. But what does it mean when the people who live here don't believe it anymore? What does it mean when citizens feel trapped, exploited, and betrayed? What does it mean when the lucky country feels like a scam? It means the identity is broken, the myth is shattered, the brand is hollow. Because if working full-time still leaves you broke, if rent eats half your income, if housing is treated like a stock portfolio, and if the government keeps gaslighting you into thinking it's your fault, then what exactly are we proud of?